What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Blake Chaos, and today we are diving into the top 10 NFL draft busts of all time. Now, as we all know, the draft is a huge deal for these 32 teams. Millions of dollars are spent on scouting and paying these young kids out of college. General managers, coaches, scouts, and execs alike spend countless hours researching and putting their work in on these new kids they want to bring into the team. But as we all know, nothing is guaranteed in the draft. So before we break down this top 10 NFL draft plus list, guys, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, like this video, and let's get right into it.
Number 10, Justin Blackman. In the 2012 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars had their sights set on Justin Blackman, a highly talented wide receiver from Oklahoma State University. With the 5th overall pick, they took him and were sorely disappointed. Only playing 1 year in the NFL, his performance was terrible to say the least. Hauling in 93 receptions for 1,280 yards and 6 touchdowns, it's clear to see Mr. Blackman was a bust, especially since JB was suspended for the first 4 games of the season for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. Talk about a rocky start. Number 9, Christian Ponder. The Minnesota Vikings have had a few first-round disasters, and Christian Ponder was definitely one of them. Using the 12th overall pick in the 2011 draft, they took him a quarterback out of Florida State. Lasting 3 years in Minnesota, he moved between the Raiders, Broncos, and 49ers over the next 2 years, accumulating a poor 6,658 passing yards, 38 touchdowns to 36 givers, sub 60% completion percentage. This is a first round pick the Minnesota Vikings wish they had back. Number 8, David Carr. David Carr was a highly touted quarterback out of Fresno State University that the Houston Texans fell in love with. So much so that they took him first overall in the 2002 NFL Draft. Taking on a journeyman role, Carr played 4 years in Houston before heading to Carolina, a stint with the Giants, where he won a Super Bowl championship backing up Eli, briefly with the 49ers, then he finished back with the Giants. He completed 1,353 of 2,267 career passes for a 59.7 completion percentage, 65 touchdowns to 71 interceptions, and a total of 14,452 yards, with a career passer rating of 74.9. Carr was bad, but not as bad as our next pick. Number 7, Paxton Lynch. Coming out of the University of Memphis, Paxton Lynch was selected 26th overall by the Denver Broncos, who really hoped he would live up to the hype that his huge 6'7" frame carried. Spoiler alert, it did not. 3 years in the NFL, 3 teams, being the Broncos, Seahawks, and Steelers, Paxton only racked up a total of 792 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, clearly showing why he belongs on this list. Speaking on people who belong on this list, let's talk about Trey Lance. The San Francisco 49ers did what many called the dumbest draft move of all time by trading up to select Trey Lance 3rd overall in the 2021 NFL Draft. Trey Lance played college ball at North Dakota State University. Lance is a big body quarterback at 6'4", 224 pounds, but has been extremely disappointing thus far, spending 2 years in San Francisco and currently with the Cowboys as Dak's backup. Trey has barely any stats, with 102 attempts, completing 56 of those, making a sub 55% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a total of 797 yards. He has also rushed for 235 yards and has a passer rating of 84.5. Safe to say, a huge bust in drafting Trey Lance and even trading up to get him that high. Coming in at number 5 of the biggest NFL first-round draft bust of all time, we have Josh Rosen. Drafted 10th overall by the Arizona Cardinals in the 2018 draft, Josh virtually did nothing in the NFL. After many collegiate awards, Josh's talents did not translate to the NFL, playing on 7 teams in 5 years, going from Arizona to Miami to Tampa Bay, heading over to San Francisco, then Atlanta, Cleveland, and ending his career in Minnesota, only making the practice squad for Tampa Bay, Cleveland, and Minnesota. Josh had some of the worst career stats ever, with 513 attempts, completing only 277 of them for a 54% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns and 21 interceptions, 2,800 yards, and a passer rating of 61.1. All I can say is ouch. At number 4, we have Johnny Manziel. Now, in my opinion, Johnny Football was the most hyped college athlete ever. The electric quarterback from Texas A&M was drafted 22nd overall by the Cleveland Browns in the 2014 draft. Now, Cleveland definitely bought into the hype and hoped Manziel would take them to the promised land. Leaving Cleveland in 2015, the year after he was drafted, he went right to the CFL and other semi-pro leagues. He finished his career with the FCF Zippers in 2022. Manziel had multiple off-field issues, from domestic violence to drug charges and DUIs. His NFL career stats are laughable, with only 248 attempts, 147 of those being completed for a 57% clip, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 1 rushing touchdown, along with 259 rushing yards. Hey, at least Manziel will always be Johnny Football. Coming in at number 3, we have Charles Rogers. Now, this one is personal to me because I played against this player in high school, but Charles Rogers comes in as the 3rd biggest NFL draft bust. The Detroit Lions spent the number 2 overall pick in the 2003 draft on this wide receiver and got minimum production on the field from him, but he did attract maximum distractions in his short NFL career. Multiple drug and gun possession charges plagued this young talent from his days at Saginaw High School to Michigan State University and through to the Detroit Lions. He only played in 15 games, 9 of them he started, and racked up 36 receptions for 440 yards, along with 4 touchdowns. Rogers did pass away in Florida on November 11, 2019. As bad as this bust was, it's peanuts to our top 2 draft bust in NFL history. Number 2, JaMarcus Russell. In 2007, the Oakland Raiders made quite possibly their biggest blunder in draft history, drafting JaMarcus Russell, number 1 overall out of LSU. He was a highly desired quarterback whose game and work ethic didn't translate to the pro game. Russell is the poster boy for wasted talent at such a high draft pick. After he won the 07 Sugar Bowl MVP for LSU in college, his NFL career was pitiful over 3 years, only attempting 680 passes, completing 354 of them for a 52.1% completion percentage. He threw 18 touchdowns to 23 interceptions for 4,083 yards, leaving him with a rating of 65.2. Now, Russell was a massive 6'6", 260 pounds, but to make it in the league, you need much more than size and college-level talent. Number 1, Ryan Leaf. Topping our list of the biggest draft busts the NFL has ever seen, we have Ryan Leaf, the quarterback out of Washington State that the San Diego Chargers drafted 2nd overall in the 1998 draft. Leaf brought an attitude with him to the NFL, but left all of his talent at Washington State University. He stayed with the Chargers until 2000, then went to the practice squad for the Tampa Bay Bucks, got a position with the Cowboys briefly before ending his painstaking career with the Seahawks in 2002. He went from a Heisman finalist to a defendant catching 10 years probation for drug-related charges. Later, Leaf served 7 years in state prison for a robbery in Montana, caught a domestic violence in Cali in 2020, and sentenced to probation. Leaf's career stats are as lackluster as you would expect, with completing only 317 of 655 passes, a 48.4% completion percentage, 14 touchdowns to 36 interceptions, and a total of 3,600 yards, giving him a 50.0 QBR.